Hello people, welcome to the Gaming Potato. It's me Ben, and I'm here with my first ever book review. Now, I don't read. It's a well-known fact that I don't read books anymore. I used to quite a lot, but I'm now sort of like a gamer, film person. I don't read very often. I just don't have time in the day for reading. Now, if you watched my Christmas video, you saw that I got the three Hunger Games books. Now, I'm going to review the first Hunger Games book. There aren't many films, and of course some games have got books for them, but there aren't many books I buy based on things. In fact, there aren't many books I buy. It's like I'm a massive fan of Harry Potter. I didn't buy, well, I've got the Harry Potter books. I've only read like three of them, and I can't even remember what happened in the books. I just remember what happened in the films. Um, so yeah, I don't buy books. That's essentially my rule. And two films recently have made me buy the books. Scott Pilgrim a couple of years ago, when I watched that, I went and bought the books because it was amazing. And The Hunger Games. Now, when I first heard about The Hunger Games, it was just from women. It was like people I knew at school, girls I knew at school and stuff, who talked about The Hunger Games. And from what they had told me, I thought it was like the new Twilight because all I was hearing about was this love triangle that goes on in the books. I thought, Jesus Christ, is it really being copied already? Is Twilight really being copied already? I saw the trailer for the film when they released it, and I thought, okay, that is definitely not Twilight. That is pretty damn good. I went and saw the film, and it was pretty damn good. So yes, here we have The Hunger Games. It's written by Suzanne Collins. I don't know when it was written, but it was written by Suzanne Collins. Um, and so for those of you who don't know the story of it, it's set in what was America. There was some kind of war, and now it's been sort of like fractured into lots of different places. And this is set in Pan Am. You don't hear about any of the other places, so just forget about that. You just need to know that it's set in this place that was America, and now it's Pan Am. I think it's sort of like in the north area, maybe sort of like America, Canada kind of area. That place. Um, and it follows a girl called Katniss. Well, actually, there are there were 13 districts. Then there was another war which involved the 13 districts uprising against its government called the capital. The capital, in retaliation for this, destroyed District 13, and now every year provides essentially a blood sport. Well, yeah, it is a blood sport. It's a fight to the death called the Hunger Games. It selects two children, one male, one female, between the ages of 12 and 17. I think it's 17. To compete in the Hunger Games. So that's 24 tributes, all sent into this arena to have one victor. And it's to show them that the capital's still in power, that they can't do anything about it. Um, and yeah, it revolves around this girl called Katniss Everdeen. She's a girl from District 12, the poorest district. They all sort of like get poorer as they go along, and District 12 is the very poorest. Uh, and yeah, she's just this average girl. Her dad died in a mining accident 5 years previous to the book. Um, she has a mother who's quite depressed. She has a sister, a little sister, who has just turned 12, and her sister's cat. Oh, and a goat. They have a goat. um, yeah, they live in District 12. She has a best friend called Gale Hawthorne. He is a hunter with her. They go into the woods and they hunt. And sort of like, they don't sort of like say they're in love with each other, but they sort of are. It's like, you can tell kind of thing they like each other in that way. Um, and yeah, basically the day comes when the names get called out for the Hunger Games, and Katniss's sister Primrose gets called up, and it's also like a bit of a shock because, well, one, her name was only being drawn once compared to everyone else's, because you can enter this kind of thing. It's called Tesseract, I think that's how you say it. And you can enter your name in more times for like food and shit like that. Now, Prim hadn't put her name in for any of this stuff. Katniss had. A lot of other people had as well. And Katniss's name was in it like 20 odd times, and Gail's is in it like 40 odd times. So yeah, so when Prim's name gets drawn, it's in there once. And it's also like a bit shocking how how someone whose name is only in there once managed to get drawn when there are people who have had their names in there quite a lot of times. Anyway, Katniss volunteers to take her place because you can do that. It's allowed. You can volunteer yourself to go into the games, but no one does because everyone knows that you're gonna die most likely. You got a 24 to 1 chance of winning. Is that the odds right? I don't know. 1 in 24 chance of winning. So yeah, the likelihood is you're going to die. A lot of people normally do die. So anyway, she volunteers instead of Prim because she wants Prim to have her life, whereas Katniss is older than her. She's there to protect her, kind of thing. So she goes in, and another boy, and the boy from District 12 is Peter Mellark, who was chosen to go. They get sent to the capital, and they sort of go through interviews, training process, and stuff like that. And this is probably getting on for just over a third of the book before they actually get into the arena. Now, there's also like a bit where they say, okay, we're going to make you two look like you love each other, kind of thing. So that way you'll get lots of sponsors to give you lots of stuff in the arena to help you out. So it's all, it looks like an act, but then it turns out that Peter has actually been in love with her for the past, like, 12 years or something. He fell in love with her, but he never had the guts to ask her out because he knew that it wouldn't, whatever kind of. He was a shy person. He's me. I view him as me. I'm a shy person. If I was in love with someone for 12 years, I probably wouldn't ask them out because I'd be shy. So yeah, he's a pretty heavy lifter. He can throw things very far. He's very strong, whereas Katniss is a hunter. She's very accurate with a bow. So they work on their strengths and they work on their weaknesses in the training areas, and then eventually they're sent off into the arena to kill other children. Happy days. So after that's probably about half the book is spent in the arena, I think. So it's a slow build-up, but it's really good. It's well explained, and it's actually quite interesting for a fairly slow start. It's split into each book that I'm also going on this one at the moment. It's split into 27 chapters. There's 3 parts to each book, so it's 9 chapters per part. But they all sort of continue going. And there are some really, really good bits, kind of thing, in both the action and the sort of just general storytelling, non-action bits. So there's like, it's got something for everyone. It's got enough for the people who want the action, the blood and stuff like that. Now, of course, you're going to be sitting through half a book of nothing to get to that. If you're one of them kinds of people, but if you're someone who's there for like the good story, that there genuinely is a really good story to it, then you're going to be pleased the entire way through. If you're not a massive action person, if you're not wanting the action because you're not a very actiony kind of person, it doesn't take over too much. There's like bits of chapters. It's not entire chapters that are actiony, and once they get into the arena, it's not action for the rest of the book. It's sort of spread out, I think, and it's maybe 2 or 3 pages per chapter from then on, if that. Now, I have 2 complaints with the book now I think about it. First complaint, it's not very well written. I've had this problem with the first book only, and there are instances in the other 2 books, but I'll let them off, because often you can find grammar and spelling mistakes in books if you look hard enough. Now in this, I was encountering at least 1 every chapter. It seems incredibly poorly written. There were grammar mistakes everywhere, 2 or 3 spelling mistakes I noticed, and they're fairly easy words. You would have thought that either the author would have picked this up when she was writing it, or publishers would have picked this up when they're sort of like going through it to check that everything's okay. You would have thought they would have picked this up. Now it's nothing big if you can work out what they're trying to say, but there's like an odd sentence or 2 that doesn't make sense, and you're like, try to figure it out. The only other complaint I have is the incredibly slow section during the end, towards the end of the book, when Katniss and Peter are in a cave together. Now, if you've seen the film, you know what I'm on about. If you read the book, you know what I'm on about. But in the book, it is so much longer than the film. It takes like 5 chapters. This entire cave section, nothing happens. They're just sitting in this cave for 5 chapters. And each chapter is about 20 pages long, so it's dragging on so long. In the film, I think it lasts about 10 minutes, which isn't bad. 10 minutes of a 2.5-hour film set in a cave isn't bad. 5 chapters of a 27-chapter book is taking the piss a little bit, if you ask me. So yeah, besides that, they're my 2 complaints. Aside from that, it's a really good book. So yeah, I would recommend it to quite a lot of people. Obviously, it's not everyone's kind of thing. But, if you like your romance, it's got a good romance in there. I don't like Katniss, she's a bitch, to be perfectly fair. She can't choose between the guy who she loves. You'll know who I'm on about if you read the books. And the guy who she thinks she loves. She can't choose between them, and it's blatantly obvious which one she does love, but she doesn't want to go with him because I just want to punch her in the face sometimes. It is just extremely irritating. Then there's the action bits, which are quite well written. Kind of thing, like, I often find, I know I write sometimes, they're not good stories, and they mainly just keep me occupied at times. I find it really hard to write action. I know in some books I've read the action isn't written very well. It's more of a sort of like description of what's going on instead of the actual action, whereas this is the actual action. It's a lot more graphic than the film. If they had made the film directly off the book, I wouldn't be surprised if it would have been an 18, because it is very bloody and graphic at times. In the second book, there's a mention of the character Haymitch and his role in his games. And it's also like mentions of like intestines hanging out, eyes being gouged out, and stuff like that. It's a very violent book for teens, which I found quite surprising. To be honest, I wish they could have included that in the film, because now I've read that, and when I look at the film's not as violent. There's like 2 bits where you see blood in the film, and it's not even a lot of blood. It makes the film feel a little bit inadequate, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, that was Hunger Games. A bit of a shit review, but let's face it, I don't do book reviews. Pick it up. I got this for like £3 at WH Smith, so it's not a lot. You can get the film version, you can get the American version, this is the British version, so they're exactly the same. I just liked the cover on this one. So yeah, there you go, that's my Hunger Games review. I'm going to do Catching Fire in the next couple of days probably, because I've already read that, and then Mockingjay when I've finished it. There are one more set of books I would do a review for, that's Scott Pilgrim. I'll come across them eventually, just maybe not yet. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please check out my other videos, rate, comment, subscribe, and thanks!